There's no doubt that the new monarchs of the United Kingdom are in their twilight years, so speculation has run rampant.
I'm always quite intrigued by Princess Anne. I know she's representing the Queen partially along with Prince Charles.
What happens when loyalty to the crown collides with loyalty to family? Behind the towering gates of Buckingham Palace, where champagne flows and cameras flash, a storm has been quietly building. Something happened during what should have been an ordinary royal gathering, something that left the entire palace holding its breath. Princess Anne, known for speaking only when absolutely necessary.
I'm a huge fan of lots of people. Footballer Harry Kane, come on you Spurs. Music icon Sir Elton John, total legend. And underrated royal superstar Princess Anne.
Broke her silence in a way nobody expected. King Charles found himself caught between the woman he married and the sister who refuses to forget their mother's wishes. The cracks in the royal foundation are showing, and this time, there's no hiding them. What could possibly shake the very core of Britain's most powerful family? Stay with us to uncover the shocking truth behind this story. The night everything changed. Most people imagine royal dinners as peaceful affairs, crystal glasses, polite conversation, everyone on their best behavior. But that's not always the reality. Sometimes beneath those sparkling chandeliers and perfectly pressed suits, emotions run deeper than anyone sees on television. This particular evening started like any other formal gathering. Guests arrived in their finest attire, photographers captured smiles, and the usual pleasantries were exchanged. But something felt different. Those who know the royals well could sense it, a thickness in the air. Unspoken words waiting to break free. Princess Anne sat quietly for most of the evening. She's never been one for unnecessary chatter or playing games with her words. When she speaks, people listen because they know it matters. So when she finally turned toward Queen Camilla, everyone nearby felt the shift. The words she spoke weren't shouted or dramatic, they didn't need to be. "You are the Queen Consort, not the Queen," Anne said, her voice steady and clear.
Queen Elizabeth says she wants Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, to be known as Queen Consort.
The room didn't explode. It froze. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Wine glasses paused halfway to lips. Time itself seemed to hesitate. This wasn't just about royal titles or protocol books gathering dust in palace libraries. This was about something much deeper, about promises made to a dying mother, about family honor, about what it means to protect a legacy when the world is watching. Anne had stood by Queen Elizabeth II through everything. She had been there in the final days, the final hours, and she had heard her mother's wishes about Camilla's role with absolute clarity. Those wishes weren't suggestions. They were instructions from a queen who had spent 70 years understanding exactly what the monarchy needed.
Queen Elizabeth, as she marked 70 years on the throne this Sunday.
According to people close to the family, Anne had even approached Camilla privately before that fateful dinner. She had reminded her politely but firmly that Queen Elizabeth wanted her to remain as Queen Consort, nothing more. But titles have a way of expanding when nobody's watching closely. Influence creeps in slowly, through small decisions and gradual shifts in power. Anne had noticed. She had watched as Camilla's presence grew larger within the family structure, as her opinions carried more weight in palace decisions. And Anne had decided enough was enough. King Charles stood at the center of an impossible situation. On one side, his sister, fiercely protective, deeply principled, carrying their mother's final wishes like a sacred duty. On the other side, his wife working tirelessly to find her place in a family and institution that had once viewed her as an outsider, trying to build something new, while the shadow of the past refused to fade.
The other woman, a homewrecker, someone who destroyed a modern fairy tale?
Whatever decision Charles made that night rippled through the palace in ways most people will never fully understand. The dinner ended. People went home. But nothing was the same after Anne spoke those words aloud. Princess Anne, the royal nobody dares to cross. To understand why Anne's words carried such weight, you need to understand who she really is. Most royal watchers know the basics. She's hardworking. She doesn't waste time. She gets things done.
She's a very hard-working royalist who actually, in herself, seems to stay out the limelight.
But there's so much more beneath the surface. Since she turned 18, Princess Anne has attended over 20,000 official events. Read that number again. 20,000. That's not just showing up and waving. That's decades of hospital visits, charity galas, overseas trips, ribbon cuttings, speeches, meetings, and handshakes with thousands upon thousands of people. Unlike other royals who carefully craft their public image, Anne has always been unapologetically herself. When photographers irritated her back in 1982, she told them to naff off in front of everyone. The media had a field day, calling her rude and giving her sarcastic nicknames. But Anne didn't care about headlines. She cared about doing the work, not performing for cameras. That authenticity, that refusal to play the game, has made her both controversial and deeply respected. She made a decision early on that shocked many people. She didn't give her children royal titles. Peter and Zara grew up as regular kids, relatively speaking. They went to normal schools, pursued their own careers, lived lives outside the royal spotlight. Anne wanted that for them. She understood that being royal isn't always a gift. Sometimes it's a burden that never lifts. That choice showed a mother putting her children's well-being above tradition and prestige. Between 2002 and 2022, Anne completed more royal engagements than any other family member during that period. Over 11,000 events. While others attended the occasional charity function or state dinner, Anne was everywhere, constantly, tirelessly. She became known as someone who wouldn't just lend her name to a cause. She'd roll up her sleeves and actually work for it. Her involvement with Save the Children and dozens of other organizations wasn't ceremonial. It was real, hands-on commitment that changed lives. Anne's approach to royal duties is refreshingly practical. She drives herself to events instead of waiting for royal staff to chauffeur her around. During public walkabouts, she refuses to shake hands with everyone because she knows it's impossible to personally greet every single person. So why pretend? This honesty, this grounded approach to an absurdly privileged life, has earned her a special place in British hearts. People call her a national treasure, and they mean it. Even her fashion choices reflect her personality. Anne wears what makes sense, often choosing British designers and practical styles inspired by equestrian clothing. She's been known to wear the same outfits for decades, not because she can't afford new clothes, but because she sees no reason to waste resources on unnecessary shopping. When she does dress up for formal occasions, she owns it completely. Military uniforms, bold jewelry, looks that make statements without trying too hard. This is the woman who challenged Camilla's position. Not someone prone to drama or jealousy, not someone who speaks carelessly. When Princess Anne says something matters, it matters. And when she draws a line in the sand about royal protocol and her mother's wishes, even the king himself has to take it seriously. The complicated history between Anne and Camilla. The tension between these two women runs deeper than most people realize. It's not just about current royal politics or competing for influence. This goes back decades, to a time when they were all much younger, and life looked completely different. Before Camilla became a royal, before she married Prince Charles, she was involved with a man named Andrew Parker Bowles.
Andrew Parker Bowles might have moved on after his marriage to Queen Camilla.
What many people don't know is that Andrew and Princess Anne were once deeply in love. They had something real, something that could have led to marriage. Anne saw a future with Andrew. But there was a problem, a big one. Andrew was Catholic, and Anne was part of the Church of England. Royal protocol at that time made marriage between them essentially impossible. The rules were clear, and the royal family enforced them without exception. Anne's heart broke when that relationship ended, not because love died, but because duty and tradition made love impossible. Not long afterward, Andrew married Camilla. Imagine being Princess Anne in that moment. The man she loved, the man she'd planned a life with, was marrying someone from her own social circle. It felt like betrayal, even though nobody meant it that way. The wound cut deep and never quite healed. Then, years later, Camilla married Prince Charles, Anne's own brother. The woman connected to Anne's broken heart was now part of her family permanently, unavoidably present at every gathering, every holiday, every royal function. When Charles and Camilla wed in 2005, people noticed Anne's coldness. She attended the ceremony, but her body language spoke volumes. Photographers caught the stiff posture, the distant expression, the complete lack of warmth. Anne has never been good at faking emotions, and she wasn't about to start for the cameras. She maintained her connection with Andrew Parker Bowles throughout her life. He even became godfather to one of her children. This ongoing friendship reportedly bothered Camilla, creating another layer of discomfort between the two women. Anne has always believed that being born into the royal family carries more weight than marrying into it. She was raised with duty in her blood, trained from childhood to serve the crown. In her view, Camilla came from outside, and no amount of time or good work would change that fundamental difference. It's not personal hatred, it's about hierarchy, about understanding where everyone fits in an ancient system built on bloodlines and tradition. At King Charles's coronation, Anne made a statement nobody could miss. She arrived on horseback, wearing full military regalia, looking every bit the warrior princess.
Since the 1400s, the gold stick has been traditionally responsible for keeping the monarch safe. So Anne's official role at the coronation was, in a sense, that of Charles's bodyguard. After the ceremony, she rode in the coronation procession on horseback.
While Camilla sat in her ceremonial position accepting her new title, Anne rode in like a reminder of old royal power, of traditions that predate any individual's feelings or desires. It was breathtaking, powerful, and utterly Anne. Even the king couldn't overshadow her in that moment. She wanted everyone to remember that some things are bigger than personal relationships. Some things are about preserving what matters for future generations. Camilla's long road to acceptance. While Anne represents tradition and royal bloodlines, Camilla's story is about second chances and slowly changing public opinion. When she first appeared in the public eye, she wasn't welcomed with open arms. She was the other woman, the person who came between Charles and Diana.
Someone who lived in Princess Diana's shadow. Is that all there is to her?
Fair or not, that label stuck for years. People loved Diana with fierce devotion. They watched her fairy tale wedding, celebrated her charity work, mourned her struggles, and grieved deeply when she died. Camilla inherited all that complicated emotional history. Even Queen Elizabeth had reservations about Charles marrying Camilla. The Church of England opposed it because Camilla had been divorced. Rather than the grand royal wedding people might have expected, Charles and Camilla had a quiet civil ceremony. It was practical, understated, and notably lacking in celebration. The message was clear. This marriage was happening, but nobody was pretending it was easy or universally supported. But Camilla didn't run away or live in hiding. She got to work. She threw herself into charitable causes, raising awareness about osteoporosis, supporting domestic abuse survivors, promoting literacy programs, advocating for animal welfare. Year after year, she showed up. She did the work without complaining about public perception or demanding recognition. Slowly, grudgingly, some people started to soften. They saw genuine effort, real commitment to making a difference. Still, changing hearts takes time, and some wounds run too deep for complete healing. Millions of people still think of Diana as the true Queen of Hearts. When Princess Anne called out Camilla's use of the title Queen, she was speaking for countless people who feel the same way. Diana's memory hasn't faded. Her sons carry her legacy forward. Her image remains synonymous with grace, compassion, and tragic loss. Camilla can work for decades and never fully escape that shadow. The relationship between Camilla and Princess Kate has added another layer of complexity. Queen Elizabeth immediately warmed to Kate, seeing in her a calm strength and natural dignity. Camilla's initial response was more cautious, perhaps even skeptical. There were whispers in royal circles that Camilla worried about Kate's ability to handle royal pressure, though these concerns were never stated publicly. As Kate's popularity soared, as she became beloved by the public and media, the contrast with Camilla's own journey became impossible to ignore. Kate represents everything that comes easily: youth, beauty, a fairy tale love story, public adoration. She transitioned into royal life with apparent grace, making it look effortless, even though it certainly wasn't. Camilla fought for every inch of acceptance, and even now, decades later, she's still working to prove herself. The subtle competition between them isn't about catfights or drama. It's quieter, more complex, a tension between different visions of what the monarchy should look like. Who deserves the spotlight? Whose voice carries more weight?
What about Kate's relationship with the Duchess of Cornwall? Here's what you need to know about the relationship between the Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Charles' wife, Camilla Parker Bowles.
The ghost of Diana. Diana's presence haunts these relationships in ways both obvious and subtle. For Prince William, the situation with Camilla has never been simple. She was part of the reason his parents' marriage fell apart. He was just a young boy watching his family disintegrate, trying to understand why his father couldn't make things work, why his mother was so desperately unhappy. When William first met Camilla as a teenager, sources say she was terrified. How would he see her? Would he blame her for his childhood pain? Years have passed, and William treats Camilla with respect. He's polite, appropriate, and proper in all their interactions. But there's a distance that never quite closes. People who watch their body language notice the slight stiffness, the careful boundaries. William guards himself around her in ways he doesn't with other family members. The old hurt hasn't disappeared. It's just been managed, controlled, contained beneath layers of royal protocol. Some palace insiders believe that when William becomes king, he may redefine Camilla's role entirely. What that looks like remains speculation, but the possibility hangs in the air like an unspoken threat. William fiercely protects his mother's memory. He makes sure his children know who Diana was, what she stood for, how much she loved them, even though they never met her. That loyalty to his mother's legacy could eventually reshape Camilla's position in ways nobody currently predicts. As time moves forward, whispers grow louder that William's vision for the monarchy could quietly undo many of his father's choices, steering the crown toward a new era, defined by transparency, empathy, and the enduring influence of Diana's spirit on the future royal generation. Kate's connection to Diana's memory adds another dimension to these tangled relationships. People constantly compare Kate to Diana, looking for similarities in their charity work, their fashion choices, their relationships with their children. Kate handles these comparisons with grace, honoring Diana while carving out her own identity. But every time someone praises Kate as a modern Diana, it's an implicit reminder to Camilla.
Diana's legacy just continues living on. Just 2 months after 3 new portraits of Kate Middleton were released in honor of her 40th birthday, a rare image of the late Princess Diana has also been made public.
Of the woman she could never be, the approval she could never quite earn. The truth is that Diana changed what it means to be royal. She brought emotion, vulnerability, and genuine warmth to an institution known for cold formality. She hugged AIDS patients when others feared to touch them. She spoke openly about mental health struggles when royals were supposed to suffer in silence. She made the monarchy feel human and accessible. That's a powerful legacy, and it doesn't fade just because years pass. Diana's spirit still walks the halls of Kensington Palace, still influences how people judge the royals, still sets the standard against which everyone else is measured. So where does this leave the royal family? The tensions aren't resolved. Anne hasn't softened her position, and Camilla hasn't stopped working to secure her place in history. King Charles stands in the middle, trying to honor his mother's memory while supporting his wife, trying to keep his family together while ancient resentments simmer beneath the surface. These aren't problems that get fixed with a single conversation or a public statement. These are deep, complicated human emotions playing out on the world's biggest stage. What we're watching is more than royal gossip or palace intrigue. We're watching a family navigate the same struggles many families face. Hurt feelings, old betrayals, competing loyalties, the challenge of honoring the past while building the future. The difference is that when most families argue, the world doesn't watch. When most families disagree about someone's role or title, it doesn't make international headlines. The royals carry the weight of history, tradition, and millions of watching eyes with every decision they make. Princess Anne will continue being herself, direct, dutiful, uncompromising. Camilla will continue working to prove her value and earn her place. Kate will keep growing into her role as future queen, carrying Diana's legacy without being crushed by it. William will protect his mother's memory while learning to lead. And through it all, the monarchy will adapt, shift, and survive as it has for centuries. Because institutions built on centuries of history don't crumble from one uncomfortable dinner conversation. The real question isn't who wins or loses these personal battles. The real question is what kind of monarchy emerges from this moment, one that clings desperately to the past, or one that finds a way to honor history while embracing change. That answer is still being written, one awkward family gathering at a time. If this story opened your eyes to what really happens behind palace walls, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We bring you the royal stories others won't tell, the truth behind the carefully crafted public images. Drop a comment below telling us what you think. Does Princess Anne have a point? Or is it time for the family to move forward? We read every single comment and love hearing your perspectives. Stay tuned because we've got more royal revelations coming your way, and trust us, you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Until then, keep questioning what you see on the surface, because with the royals, there's always more to the story than meets the eye.